So how well did the federal government handle the economic aspects of the pandemic? Some say Justin Trudeau and the Liberals saved our economy from disaster. Some say the exact opposite. Let's get more on this. Marty Patriquin is the Quebec correspondent for The Logic. You can read his words, and this week you can read his words in the Montreal Gazette as well, on this idea, this notion of Ottawa's relief programs for COVID-19 and whether or not they saved the economy. Marty, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Elias. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So, you looked into it?
Yeah.
What did you find?
We don't know yet. That's the main answer. So the debate is basically, as it's gone now, has been in the short and medium term, has basically been taken over by people that are either for or against government intervention. So you sort of get pitched battles between the two, and one side said it's been amazing, the other side says it's been horrible. So it's left-right kind of thing. So I kind of got frustrated at that because I kind of got sick of reading this stuff. So I went to actual people who study this kind of thing. And the short answer is we don't yet know the full extent of CERB and CRB's effect on the economy. We don't have enough data yet. That said, a lot of the stuff that the right has been saying, that is to say, it's been that CERB and these things were a disincentive to work, that they fueled the lack of labor, and that it necessarily fueled inflation, don't seem to pan out whatsoever.
So why is that? Why don't they seem to pan out?
Well, for in the case of inflation, it's really hard to blame CERB and CRB for it because there are so many other government programs that weren't necessarily aimed only at workers, but aimed at businesses as well. So it's very hard to parse. The other thing too is that we're in a pandemic, and there has been increased demand for things, housing, for example, that we didn't have a demand, that there wasn't there before. So there are things that have aggravated inflation that have absolutely nothing to do with government intervention. It's basically a supply and demand thing. As far as a disincentive to work, the economy is doing really well. People are going back to work in actually record numbers, and the uptake is actually more pronounced here in Canada than it is in the U.S. So that's another talking point that doesn't quite follow through. The other one that's interesting for me is worker wages. People talked a lot about people not wanting to go back to work because, they were staying home and collecting Trudeau bucks, essentially. So I looked into that. And one of the things that's interesting is that despite all this talk about the demand for workers, worker wages haven't gone up all that much over the last 18 months. They've gone up about $1.37, $1.38 over 18 months. Which is very, very little considering the amount of labor shortage there is. And one of the interesting sectors is nursing. Now, everybody talks about how important nurses are, right? And particularly here in Quebec, where there's a huge lack of them. Like the amount that worker wages for nurses has gone up in the last 18 months is exactly 16 cents. And in fact,
wait, hold on a second. 16 cents.
Yeah, 16 cents. 16 cents. And the even worse, frontline healthcare professionals that do not include nursing, so if you exclude nursing, actually went down. Salaries actually went down. So there's part of something in the idea, the very capitalist idea of supply and demand that isn't quite ringing true over the last 18 months of the pandemic.
We are taking a look at the federal government's economic plans and recovery plans during COVID-19 with Marty Patriquin, Quebec correspondent for The Logic. So, Marty, you referenced it off the top. It's sort of what you just told us doesn't vibe with sort of the narrative that it's really a split decision. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and there's a big vocal part of this country that's like the CERB was a disaster. We gave people so much money. Is this a case of just certain people that are very vocal taking up so much space that it seems like it's a split decision?
Yeah, but to be fair though, I sort of started the column that I wrote this week about a book by a guy named Pierre Ferry, who is a longtime left-wing guy in Quebec, ran for the Parti Québécois, the leadership of the Parti Québécois in 2015, was a very notable thorn in the side of Pierre Carpelado in the time. A nice guy. I have a lot of time for him. He wrote a book about it, and he works with the province's unemployed, and he said, it was an absolute boon for him. The issue is that he's not an economist. He's coming at it very much from a left-wing thing, and so he demonizes the right throughout that book, which, I'm not taking away from that. It's actually quite a good read. Mm-hmm. My only point was that the left is saying how great it is, the right is saying how bad it is, and the truth, like a lot of things in life, is very, very mitigé, as they say in French, nuanced.
Yeah. Well, to that, Marty, because I've talked to economists here, and one of the things they point out is listen, you need to do this. This is what government's for, right? Mm-hmm. Times of crisis, they've got to pump the money into the economy. But they also say, but you know what? There's some numbers here that for every dollar that was taken out of the economy by the pandemic, the government threw in $7, right? And this is an anecdote from my life, right? I'm on the board of directors of a nonprofit. And so many of our programs and it's a nonprofit that deals in the arts and the theaters, right? And so many things were canceled over the last couple of years, but all of the government programs kept going and then some. The books got better over the course of the pandemic. So no shows, no events, the books got better, right? So to me, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe they threw in just too much money. Not, it's one thing to keep the lights on. It's another thing to make the financial situation even better through a pandemic. That seems to be counterintuitive.
Look, 100%. And you're right in the sense that CERB was basically a catch-all. It was basically like a fire hose of money for everyone. To the government's credit, those that, to use a mixed metaphor here, it got funneled down. So you had CERB, then you had CRB, and then you have this sort of like three or four boutique kind of very specialized programs now that help if you're caring for someone, or if you can't go to work because you have attained COVID, what have you. All this to say is the government programs have gotten a lot more focused over the last 6 months. So it's not just a situation where we're just throwing money around. That did happen, yes, and as you mentioned, in a way that had to happen. That's something that had to happen. But again, to the government's credit, it has not continued. It has been pared down significantly over the last 6 or 8 months.
Marty, we're going to leave it there. I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's great catching up with you, and a great piece, by the way, in The Logic. You can read it this week on the Montreal Gazette website as well. Did Ottawa's COVID relief programs save the economy or tank it? If you want to find out a little more. Thanks so much, Marty.
Thanks, Les.